He thought I'd just sit there and stay quiet. That morning I walked into the meeting with two things. Red lipstick on my face and a folder that made my boss stop smiling 20 minutes later. Before that, he was always smiling. The kind of smile men wear when they're used to entering a room before their own words do. Mark didn't ask. He announced. He didn't suggest. He decided. He could stop me by the printer, glance at the report in my hands and say, "Smart girl." Almost like a real analyst. The whole department would laugh. Not loudly, just enough for me to understand that if I answered back, I'd be the problem. I'd been with that company for 4 years. I started as a junior specialist and worked my way up to leading a project that could bring in the biggest contract the firm had seen in a decade. I knew every number, every weak spot, every client by the sound of their voice. Mark knew something else. How to stand next to me during a presentation like he was the one who'd come up with all of it. First he took my phrases, then my ideas, then my meetings. "You come off too strong with partners," he told me one day, closing the conference room door behind him. "Men don't like it when a woman pushes too hard." I looked at him and asked, "And when a man pushes too hard, what do you call that?" He smiled. "Leadership." After that, the feedback started coming in. Not about my work. About me. Less aggressive. Try to be softer. Don't interrupt senior colleagues. The youngest of those senior colleagues was 27. I was 32. The worst part wasn't even what he said. It was how calmly he said it, like he was doing me a favor. Like the whole world had already been signed over to men like him. And I was just walking too loudly through someone else's hallway. A month before the final presentation, Mark called me into his office. My printout was lying on his desk. My research, my numbers, my entire strategy for entering a new market. And on the first page, written in red ink, were the words, "Mark Coleman, Project Lead." For a second, I actually thought it had to be a mistake. I really did. Sometimes your brain protects you from the obvious because the obvious is too ugly. "My name should be on this," I said. He didn't even look up. Clients feel more comfortable seeing a man lead a project this big. I heard someone laughing by the coffee machine outside the glass wall. Just a normal office sound. Papers. Keyboards. Footsteps. But inside me, something quietly broke away from the version of myself that had been trying to stay polite. "Are you serious?" I asked. That's when he looked at me. "Lauren, don't make a scene. You'll still be on the team. You'll sit next to me, smile, and answer questions if I ask you to." Sit next to him. Smile. If he asked me to. I walked out of his office without slamming the door. Women are taught to leave gracefully, even when we're being robbed in broad daylight. That night I didn't cry. Not because I was strong. Because anger had taken up all the space. I opened my laptop and started gathering the one thing men like Mark hate more than a woman raising her voice. Facts. Emails where he asked me to throw together the strategy. File histories showing every edit. Messages where he wrote, "Lauren, you're the best at this. Can you have it ready by morning?" Meeting notes where clients thanked me by name for the idea. And then I did the one thing I'd been more afraid of than anything else. I messaged the women in my department. Not all of them at first. Just 3. "Has Mark ever done something like this to you?" The first reply came 4 minutes later. "He presented my report as his last year." The second woman wrote, "I turned down dinner with him, and he removed me from the project." The third sent a screenshot. It was one message from Mark. "Don't be so difficult. You still have a lot to learn." By midnight I had 12 stories. The next morning, I got to the office before everyone else. The conference room was already set up. Screen on. Water bottles lined up. Name cards placed neatly on the table. The investors were arriving in an hour. Mark walked in 10 minutes before the meeting started, wearing a navy suit and the expression of a man who'd never once doubted that the world would move out of his way. He looked me up and down. "Red lipstick? Bold choice." "Thanks," I said. I wanted to make sure I was visible. He gave a small laugh. "Just don't interrupt." I smiled. For the first 7 minutes of the meeting, he spoke. He read my words from my slides. Confidently. Smoothly. Pausing in all the right places. The investors nodded along. Then one of them, an older man with thin glasses, asked, "Mark, this is an interesting approach. Who calculated the risks for Phase 3? Mark didn't even turn toward me. "My team." I clicked the remote. Instead of the next slide, a document appeared on the screen. Version history. Dates. Timestamps. My name on every line. Below that, emails. Below that, meeting transcripts. No shouting. No drama. Just a clean, cold record of the truth. The room went so quiet I heard someone set a glass down on the table. Mark didn't go pale right away. First he tried to smile. "Looks like we've got a technical issue." "No," I said. "This is authorship." He turned toward me. There wasn't shock in his eyes. There was offense. That's what men like him feel when a woman stops playing along. Not guilt. Not shame. Offense. "Lauren," he said quietly, almost gently, "you don't understand what you're doing right now." And that was the moment I realized he still thought he could put me back in my place with nothing but his tone. So I stood up. I understand exactly what I'm doing. I'm taking my work back. And maybe not just mine. After me, Olivia from legal stood up. Then Megan from sales. Then Hannah, who'd been quiet for 3 years because she had a mortgage and 2 kids. Nobody yelled. Nobody made a scene. Each woman said one sentence. One fact. One date. One project name that had disappeared from her resume and magically appeared in his reports. Mark stopped smiling. A week later, his office was empty. The company sent out a dry little email about reviewing leadership practices. That's how corporations do it, isn't it? They turn years of humiliation into 3 clean paragraphs with no fingerprints. I was offered the chance to lead the project. The old me would have said, "Let me think about it." We're taught that too. Don't accept too fast. Don't look too ready. Don't scare anyone with your confidence. But I looked at the director and said, "Yes, and I'll choose my own team." On my first day in the new office, I took Mark's nameplate off the door. There was a pale rectangle underneath it, like even the wood remembered who had been hanging there too long. I didn't celebrate loudly. I just bought coffee for every woman in the department. And no, not girls. Women. Women who'd spent years swallowing men's arrogance and calling it professionalism. Women who were afraid of seeming difficult, sharp, emotional too much. Women who'd been told their talent needed to speak softer if there was a man with a title sitting nearby. I kept thinking about the exact moment my life changed. It wasn't during the meeting. It wasn't when Mark got fired. It wasn't when I got the office. It started the second I stopped trying to prove I deserved a seat at the table. I simply took it.